take a look at the National Association of Realtors short sale workflow. And the reason why we want to examine it is because I want to address the potential short sale. So what I think I'm seeing, because we're seeing a lot of ones and twos, there were 653 short sales in the California Association of Realtors MLS. And we're seeing a lot of ones and twos, almost like people are stumbling into a short sale. And I wanted to make the sellers in those areas of Riverside, of San Bernardino, maybe outside of Sacramento. It's starting to happen. There have been short sales in San Diego. People are starting to realize that maybe they don't have enough equity in their home to, let me change the shape here, to, I don't know why I have two over here, but we're not worried about that, to cover their loans. And so what I'm concerned about is if a realtor is even following the most basic understandings of what they're taught as realtors, they're aware that your area and maybe your home price, because most realtors, before they go to your property, are going to look at your home price. Most of them are going to, let's see if I can bring in the original document too. No, it didn't happen there. So I'm going to, here, let's just review it. What is a short sale? It's one where title is transferred, where the sales price was insufficient to pay the total of all liens and the cost of the sale. Right now, the biggest cost of the sale would be realtor commissions, 5 to 6%. And where the seller did not bring sufficient liquid assets to the closing to cure all deficiencies. So that is my advice as someone who's done a lot of short sales and trained over 150 or 60. I have trained realtors by the California Association of Realtors. They requested that I train realtors on how to negotiate, how to sell, the whole process, how to do a short sale. They particularly, they had a second breakout session where I then also explained how we're going to handle multiple offers, because if your realtor is doing a good job, they will be bringing multiple offers because the bank might take so long to approve your first one. They want to have one standing by. So the California Association of Realtors had me train realtors on this. And I'm going to tell you, it's so obvious for any realtor. When someone calls up, you go check out the comps, you figure out what it's worth. You can sometimes even see how much the debt is. But if you've done this enough for your area, you already know homes in this area are starting to suffer because there's already short sales going on. And you also know that maybe there's been a lot of building lately and the builders are driving their prices, which puts pressure on the homes that they sold within the last 3 or 4 years. So you already have an idea. A realtor now in our market should even be asking people, because of zombie loans and everything else, I'm going to come out to the property. We're going to get, your comps. We're going to discuss the sale. But I was wondering, do you have any idea how much your property is worth? Any idea of how much you owe on your loans? And you might even ask, if someone's been in the property for a long time, if they're a little bit worried about a second lien on the property or a zombie loan. Did they ever have 2 loans on the property? That's what if you're calling me, I'm an attorney. I'm going to ask you those questions. I'm going to be confident about it. I'm saying your realtor should, but they might not. So, but now we're coming down to this NAR short sale agreement. Oh, look, I'm on the NAR short sale page. I thought I chose the one I copied and pasted to myself, the important parts, but we'll just have to scroll right through it. Okay, so this is a potential short sales one where the listing agent reasonably believes the purchase price may not be enough to cover payment of all liens and costs of sale, and the seller is unwilling or unable to bring sufficient liquid assets. So the realtor should already go in, or very early on when they ask you how much you owe, figure out whether you're a potential short seller or not. And there will be properties where maybe it's worth a little bit more than what the comp turns out to be, but the market's getting a little slow. And so you're like, well, we might not have enough to cover all the liens and the loans. And now this is the important thing. They're told to educate. They're told to gather information. They need to speak with local attorneys and CPAs who are proficient in short sales, because realtors are told over and over they should prepare themselves and understand the options, but they cannot talk about them. They can't tell you which ones to prefer, but they do tell you in here, you absolutely should tell the sellers they should avoid short sales at all costs. Now, they want you to gather information regarding liens, basically costs, taxes. They should do a CMA. This is all I think they should be doing before they even get to the property. They should meet with the seller and discuss and evaluate options. And this is the tricky thing because again, I'm willing to bet I had already saved all this. A short sale, this is probably the most important thing for everybody who's got a low equity situation. A short sale should never be the first choice because it carries with it serious negative credit and possible tax consequences. This is what the realtors are absolutely trained. And yes, I'm an attorney. I own UpsideDownRealEstate.com. And a short sale can be good for a lot of people with respect to the deficiency and with respect to taxes because of CCP 580E. The issue is, one, less than 50% of realtor negotiated short sales succeed. So there has to be a backup plan. Two, and we'll get to this, because of the long foreclosure timeline in California, which was extended by 120 days by the federal rules, and now another potentially 90 days, we have a foreclosure timeline that can take up to a year in California, and that is leverage. And I would never, if I was close, advise a seller to start with a short sale when we may be able to do a loan workout that has nothing to do with them having to go into default and get credit damage by not paying their loans, which for most lenders and most realtors an absolute requirement for the short sale. Your realtor's not supposed to tell you that, but how they get around it is saying the lender said they won't consider your short sale while you're current. So now they're sort of advising you indirectly that you have to stop paying on your loans. This is absolutely not your first choice in California. And as an attorney who's done hundreds of short sales, I make a lot more money with short sales, but I would not. If you care about your credit and your future over the next 2 to 7 years, and short sale damage is not necessarily any less damage than a foreclosure to some potential future lenders. And we've had clients, it's odd, normally the foreclosure would hurt them more, but because sometimes short sales take so long and there's lates, the people's credit recovered faster, the credit score recovered faster with foreclosure than they did short sale. So short sales are generally better, but not always. And for anyone to tell you you should start a short sale while you're still current, possibly a major mistake. And that's what we're going to be covering there, because they clearly state a realtor can't tell your options, but they apprise the realtors that these are the options. Keeping the property. There are ways to work with your lender to keep the property. Again, talk to a lawyer, because the lawyers can help. I mean, some of the programs that banks offer are not going to put a seller in a better position, and they should discuss with advisors if they can. I'm an attorney and a broker. Sell the property and bring cash to escrow. This is actually a reasonable approach. And if you can get your realtor to agree to peel down their commissions to a level that's acceptable, I have an agreement for my clients. If, let's say, they're working somewhere in Northern California and I'm not going to be able to help them with the sale, I have a peel down agreement in which, and you want to keep it outside of the listing agreement, in my opinion, so the lenders aren't going to see it. But you should have in this agreement, you should be able to cancel it anytime. And the realtors are going to put up a fuss and say, if I'm doing this work, you can't do this. Or what about if we're under contract? And, you'll deal with if you're under contract with a contract. It's two separate contracts. But your agreement with the realtor should be canceled. You should be able to cancel it at any time, because there are other loan work options. The other thing is, you should, although you might want to sign a 2.5 or 3% listing agreement, you say that's fair with your realtor, there needs to be a peel down provision that I think should be separate that says, if we have equity, but not enough to cover all your commissions, before I have to go short, you are agreeing to peel down your real estate commissions down to X. I'd say $3,000 to $5,000, maybe lower. Maybe they should go to zero. But they're going to put their commissions. They're going to put your livelihood to avoid a short sale ahead of their commissions. That's the realtor you need to be working with in a low equity potential short sale situation. Avoid the short sale at all costs. That's what the NAR is telling realtors is the case. It's a little trickier now because of buyer agent compensation. We'll have to discuss that in another video. But I would absolutely, I'll put it in there. If you contact us and we talk on the phone, and one of your options is to hire a realtor, I will give you our peel down agreement, because it's that important. So give us a call and let's have a discussion about your options. And even, if we wind up like, I don't think I can help you, or you don't want to work with us, I will still I'll give it to you before you call. In fact, like maybe you call, we talk even before we have a consultation. I'll send you the agreement if you want. I'm not that particular over my legal work. Now, well, Phil's going to be upset with me. Let me just say we should have a conversation and then I'll share it with you. Attempt a workout. Phil is a realtor in my office, and he was so upset the last time I gave away a lot of information and I gave things, and realtors were using them as if it was their own, like our RESPA. I don't want to even get into it. Attempt a loan workout with a lender. And this is where I begin, right? This is what I'm saying. Short sales, deed and lose, they're all loan workouts. We're going to find a way to tell the lender that your situation should be considered by them without you going negative. And we can do that without a short sale. We can do that with a regular sale then. And that's what we're trying to do. Even if you're a little upside down, let's say you cannot sell your house for more than it's worth. Before you agree to do a short sale, you should try these things. And I know, I wanted to show something because I know people in the past would argue with this. But first of all, Article 13, this is the Realtor Code of Ethics, I believe. Shall not engage in activities that constitute the unauthorized practice of law, and shall recommend that legal counsel be obtained when the interest of the party to the transaction requires it. And if you read what Carr says and Norr says, realtors are only supposed to present your offer and your package to the lender. They're not supposed to negotiate on your behalf. They're not licensed to do it. They can't draft agreements. They can't advise you agreements. They can't put proper counter language in the agreements. All they really do is sell the property. Now, this is the attempt to loan workout. It is not generally advisable for the agent to take the lead in representing a property owner on a workout. Workouts are not real estate transactions. They are complex contract modifications. And to date, relatively few homeowners in distress have been able to come to a permanent agreement with their lender. The homeowner should be advised to consult an attorney if this is what they choose. That's true. That's the experience we had. I basically advised sellers to do it on their own, but come back to me if they're not happy with the results, because very general, almost all the time they were unhappy. Sometimes they just didn't get the deals they wanted to get done. There was like a specific person they were looking for. Generally, it was at a temporary shortfall in income. They hadn't lied on any of their documents because they're always looking for fraud in short sales and loan workouts. So it was a person who was honest before. Their circumstances changed. It's only temporary, and they're going to succeed again, and they're likely to do well again. Like that was their candidate for these things at the time. Offer, and in general, everybody, there's always exceptions. Offer of deed in lieu. Now, I want you to know that they say here that they're going to present these options in the order of least damage to most. What are the options available to the seller in rough order of least damage to credit to the most damage to credit? And so this is where offer of deed in lieu comes in. This is the advice I've been giving in the last few days. I'm very happy to find it on the NAR website. If we cannot sell your property for more so that you're not short. So if you can't sell it in a normal sale by peeling down realtor commissions, before you go negative, before you stop paying, before you make yourself short sale eligible, and even then, we can go into this. I guess we can go more deep. I'll finish it. Even then, there are ways and times that a deed in lieu is superior when properly negotiated to a short sale. And in here, I'm going to tell you, this is exactly what I've said a few days ago. This approach is more successful in states with a very long foreclosure timeline. And I'm even going to tell you why. Because we're telling the lender, you might get, I'm sorry, it's usually the risk mitigation department for an investor who owns the loan. We're telling them if we structure it right, I'm an attorney, I explain all the rules and laws in California. I say, my client's not going to be at risk of a deficiency if they take a foreclosure or we do a short sale. My client's not at risk of taxes. The only thing you have to negotiate here with us is credit. And we are willing to do something great for your investor if you're willing to allow my client to credit not be harmed. So we're going to make sure about not having lates, and we're going to make sure about how the final report on the credit report is not the language they want to report, that they almost always do, where it says legally settled in full for less than, I have trouble with the exact words, but the paraphrase is for less than the full amount. Legally settled in full for less than the full amount of the loan. And that's the trigger that makes you not be eligible for another mortgage or for great credit for 2 to 7 years. And we'll have other videos about credit. But this is what we're avoiding. What we want is no credit damage. What they want is the house back. And we're saying, you've got no other levers here. I'm a lawyer. I explain it to them. And we're giving you a chance to get this house back now for a very small loss. But because of the long foreclosure timelines and all the other levers that we have in California, your client is likely to suffer another 1 year of no payments. So that's likely to be at the very least 1/30th of the value of the whole note in present value time, though, versus those 30 years. This is like right there. You're starting off at like 1/20th of the value of the security, maybe more. And they're going to have other expenses. I'm going to tell them, as when my client's ready to move out, we're going to have to rent the property to avoid waste. And in order to avoid and not break the law in California, we're going to put renters in at below market rents, and good luck getting an unlawful detainer on them. And that's what I'm going to advise them, because I'm a lawyer. So I for the sake of your investor, do this deed in lieu. Now, is it always going to work? I guarantee it won't always work. Can it work? Yes. Can it work without you getting any credit to your damage? We've negotiated those in the past. And it was these times in the past when the market was just rolling over that this was a very successful argument, because it was such a difference between what was happening and what they were getting. Later, when the market fell apart, deed and lieu's versus short sales, it didn't matter. They had so many properties they were taking back. It was just a big, long funnel. And since deed and lieu could be a lot shorter, they preferred deed and lieu. Sometimes they preferred foreclosure. So this is the time the deed and lieu's worked last time. I think this is the time deed and lieu's can work again. And we have more leverage now because California laws improved. And then finally, NAR got this right. Short sale. And before short sale would be, Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Act expired. Before short sale is allow the property to go to foreclosure. So I'm sure if you were talking to the people who wrote this, and they may have gotten some of it from my website at upsidedownrealestate.com, they would have told you that everything they're saying is state dependent, law dependent, leverage dependent, and how strong you are at negotiating. So it can be that a foreclosure is not even as bad. Well, that's a strong one, but there's a mix and match in here. Some could be better than others, depending on how you work it out and what your laws are in California. Is deed in lieu always better than a short sale? No, as I just said, it can get worse. But this time of the crisis, it very well could be if you're just a little short. I think we've covered, because now they start talking about advice to the realtor about short sale and protections and pricing and commissions. We can talk about that. If you work with us, I can talk to you. I mean, we've done, even if you talk to Phil in my office, Phil's done 200 short sales. He had done like 150 before he met me, and then we probably did about 100 together. So right now, if you call our office, you're either going to get our AI, which will try to put you through to one of us, or you'll get me, or you'll get Phil. So give us a call. And if it's about selling your home, Phil's good. And if it's about your options, Phil's going to put you through to me. My name is John McConnin. This is the National Association of Realtors short sale workflow. And the point that I want to get across is that your realtor should know if you're a potential short sale before they go to the property. And if you are a potential short sale, you should know that you should not sign a listing agreement unless you can get out at any time, 24-hour notice. And you can know if you're a potential short sale. If you look at what you owe on your loans, you have an idea what your property will sell for, And if what you can sell for is not, I'd say to be comfortable, 10% above where you think the current price is now. And even there, that's iffy because we don't know how good your comps are. And the market is getting weak in many areas. If days of market are going up, you might not even be able to rely on those auto valuation models, because if there's a lot of properties sitting there and some of them already short sales are weak or people have to get out fast, those prices could be dropping. So, you're going to need a really good cushion to know that you're willing to sign a listing agreement for a long time. And I still don't know why you would. I mean, why not always sign a listing agreement? You can get out at any time. You might decide to sell to a cash investor instead of waiting around. My name is John McConnin. You can find me at upsidedownrealestate.com. And if you have any questions right now, if you're willing, I don't really want to show it, but if you're willing to answer some questions about, just like they talk about in here, like, how many loans you have, what the value of the property is roughly, if you've ever refinanced, like, we're going to develop an idea of whether you have a recourse or non-recourse loans in California. Then we're going to talk about the tools that might be best for you, and we'll give you the workout plan. I'll tell you, this is what I think you should do first. And then after that, you can decide if you want to work with us or not. I mean, that's okay. I remember talking to so many people, and 70% turned into clients. So I don't have a problem explaining your options to you, because you might go and talk to your friend or your realtor or your family member. I mean, I had people come back and say, would you work with my family member on this? Because after we talk and you see your options, you're like, wow, I probably need to take advantage of the leverage that a lawyer can provide, rather than just follow the narrative and get smoked by the realtor process. And, sometimes great realtors can get a good job done, but I don't think it's time for that yet. Right now, it's time to avoid a short sale at all costs if you can, for most people. And if you do a short sale, the foreclosure timeline being a year, do you really want to get out of the house this quickly? Maybe it can rebound. I'll talk to you later. My name is John McConnin, UpsideDownRealEstate.com.